Hi everybody, Bob Sokoler, Sokoler Team, Remax Properties East. I am in a basement for a very good reason. If you live in southern Indiana or in Kentucky, you know that we have a lot of problems with allergies, things that cause coughing, wheezing, eyes running. I know I have the problem all the time every year, but there's a question, is it coming from Mother Nature, those allergens, or is it possible that at least some of those allergens, mold, coming from a place like this basement or somewhere in your house? That was a question that was brought up on my radio show recently and had some very interesting answers about the problems of mold and how to get rid of them.
Jimmy sent us an email. Brad, he said he was buying a home, had an inspection done, which included a mold inspection. The mold levels came back high, and the inspector recommends that they pull up all the carpeting and install a HEPA filter. He's wondering, how serious of a problem is mold if he's coughing, wheezing, sneezing? How is it tested, and what level should there be if there's any action needed?
Okay, well, that's a great question, because there are a lot of people that are doing mold testing that don't have any idea what they're doing out there.
Wow.
I will just say that. I'm sorry. But yeah, we will do, as a company, we'll do over 200 mold investigations every year. So what you're doing is you're taking mold, you're taking air samples. So, but the challenge is there's some tests out there that are just kind of an all-in-one kind of kit that will gauge the level of mold in the house, but they're not comparing it to a control sample outside. So you got to make sure that when you're talking to an inspector or someone that's gathering mold samples, that they understand what the protocol is. You have to have a control sample from outside to compare to. But there are people who are hypersensitive to molds. There are people with toxicity to molds or hypersensitivity. So some people, just a few spores of Alternaria can set them off into hay fever-like concerns. A lot of Aspergillus, Penicillium are in homes that are water damaged. We see, like right now, Basidia spores, which are mushrooms. It's those spores that eject from mushrooms. They are out. They're getting on dogs and kids and coming into the house, and people are having allergic reactions to those. Chetomium, Cladosporium. There's a lot of molds that just are naturally occurring outside that you don't want inside. So the trick is make sure your house stays dry. Don't let any water come into the house. Take care of roof leaks. Take care of any leaks in the basement in order to cut down on the mold growth. That was a long answer to a short question, but I can talk mold all day.
Well, if you don't know Brad's bona fides, if you're watching the show, if you look over I guess it would be his left shoulder, there's a fungal cultures map of all sorts of different fun fungal cultures, which I'm sure Brad could go into a day-long detail on each one.
Yes, I could. I'd love to, but probably not for the radio on a Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, please. So how serious of a problem is mold for our listeners? Like, I'm coughing or wheezing. Is this a chance that I've got mold going down here?
It's possible. I mean, I was at a home just the other day that the family has been sick for about 3 months. We are waiting for the lab reports to come back. It's very likely that their house, which is an older house that's got some water getting into it, it's very likely that they have a mold issue. Now, the challenge is finding, what the source is. It could be the contents of the house. I don't know that I would ever recommend someone just pulling up carpets arbitrarily, but, would it be worth cleaning those carpets as a starting point to it? Possibly, if the molds that are found would be found, in carpet fibers, because the lab reports will tell us the type of molds. Once we know that, then we know where the sources of those might be. Right. Oftentimes, it's just wet houses that are causing those sicknesses.
So, some quick questions. But I'll let you jump in here in a second, Kev. Mold, is it serious enough where it will cause health issues, or are there different types of molds?
So there are different types of molds. Different people have different sensitivity levels to molds. So, like I had a client a couple years ago that said, if you find one Alternaria spore in the house, my doctor told me I have to move out. because he had such a hypersensitivity to that type of mold. I mean,
Brad, one of our clients that we worked with, we just finally built them a house. It was like a 3 or 4 year process. They sourced every material in the home to make sure they were specific mold resistance, organic, non-off-gassing paints. There's a whole video. You can check my Instagram page about how we did it. We had Brad and we have another team, Microanalytics, involved. Mold can be very dangerous. My son was just in the hospital for asthmatic issues, just for a virus. These things, for some who you don't know if they go undiagnosed, absolutely can be causing,
Well, that's a question I was getting from a liability standpoint. We always hear the quote unquote black mold. If someone actually sees, is that actually dangerous?
So black mold is actually, the real name of it is Stachybotrys. Stachybotrys is a mycotoxin. So mycotoxin has a different type of reaction in the body. Most people are going to react to a mycotoxin like Stachybotrys. But yes, it's the same type of allergic reaction that we would have, the hay fever type of reaction. It can make you very sick, but it's not anything that I would, say, burn the house on. These things can all be remediated, even if you do find that quote unquote black mold. Most of the stuff that you see that's black is not Stachybotrys. Stachybotrys typically is going to look kind of greenish, is what it normally looks like out there. But even then, there's different species within Stachybotrys.
All right. So costs then to get a mold test?
We're doing, a lot of people are doing it preventively when they're buying a house. You're probably talking about, $300, $350, $400 to do just about any type of mold test out there. Depends on how many samples you're taking, depends on whether or not you're taking direct lifts. So if you see visible mold, we'll take a tape sample, we'll stick it directly on the mold, pull it off, put it on a slide that the lab reads. So it's just, everything's just dependent on the number of samples you need. But I would say 350 to 400 is going to take care of any of them. There's more advanced tests like ERMI, like we had to run for Greg's client. ERMI tests are a little bit more expensive. They're historic tests looking at dust in the house to see what's been there over a course of time, which for some people is very important.
So what about treatments to the house? I guess there's a lot of expense that could be involved. What's the basic that anybody listening now can take away and think about?
So mold needs 3 things to grow. It needs a temperature that the mold likes, which unfortunately is the same temperature we like. It needs a surface to grow on, a surface to feed on, and it needs water. So there's 3 legs of the stool. As long as you take one of the legs away, which is usually taking the water away, mold cannot grow. The spores will remain. It's not the spores won't disappear, but once the water goes, it can't continue to grow. So remediation typically means you remove the material. So if it's drywall that you see the mold on, you're just cutting out the drywall, checking behind it, treating any wood maybe that's gotten wet behind it before you seal the hole back up. So it's actually mold remediation is less expensive than termite remediation. So it's relatively inexpensive. There are a lot of companies in town that treat, that actually do the mold remediation, but they're going to all start with removing water from the equation.
I don't know about you, but I am now taking a second look at the house and what could be causing mold in the area, maybe even thinking about a mold test. And oh, by the way, what I have done is installed this. This is basically a dehumidifier that gets rid of water, excess water, which will hopefully dry things out and maybe takes away that one part of the mold that feeds it, and that is the water aspect of it. If you would like more information about mold, just don't hesitate. Send me an email. I'd be more than get you in contact with some of the people that we talk to on a regular basis. Oh yeah, you can also listen to our radio show every Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. on 840 WHAS. That's 8:30 a.m. on 840 WHAS. And if you want to talk about listing your home, getting it on the market, finding another home, we've got a big team. I'm more than happy to help you. Come out there. We set up a time. Get out. talk about the plan, and free, no obligation. And then if you want, we can list and get it sold very, very quickly. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483. That's 376-5483. In my basement, I'm Bob Sokoler, the Sokoler team, RE/MAX Properties East.